Alright, so we're going to show you a little bit about sheet mulching. This is done ideally in the fall, but I have done it very successfully in the spring as well, especially if it's, right now it's April, if I'm not going to plant till the end of May or June, my hot weather crops, I still have some time to get some sheet mulching done, or I could sheet mulch a section of my garden that I am going to plant in July for my fall gardening. So if you have a section, maybe the back of your garden or a row that you're not going to get to right away and you didn't get to weed it, we're going to show you how to sheet mulch. So it's somewhat similar to bed prep. I would leave all my weeds here and I would use some composted manure or compost, which I have here. And I am just going to sprinkle it all over the bed. It's also a great idea to add a little fertilizer as well, so that can help expedite the breakdown and the composting. So I would sprinkle in like my powdered fertilizer, and this has like bone meal and blood meal and kelp, all good nutrients. And then you can get cardboard. It's ideal that all the tape is off it and that it's not like that shiny printed bunch of ink. And so if you want to try to find good cardboard like this, furniture stores are a great place to go, because surprisingly enough, like beds and couches come in boxes. And so they will have really large pieces of cardboard. So rather than having to break down a bunch of little pieces, you can get some really big pieces. So this is a great example. No print, no tape. You're gonna lay it down over and then use some rice straw. And rice straw, it doesn't have any of the seed heads in it, so there's no weeds. It's just the stem of the plant. Where if you use hay or other straws, there might be some seed heads in there and you might get some weeds and be adding to your weeds. So again, as always, bed prepping and mulching, it is good to kind of do right before a rain, because once the rain comes, it will kind of soak this straw and cardboard and it will essentially just stay in place. If I do this kind of all dry and then it's windy, sometimes the wind can blow it off. So I think we do have a little rain in a couple days, but if not, I might take my hose and water this down and possibly throw a couple little rocks on the edge. And that's it. Another bed prep method that a lot of organic farmers are using is called occultation. And what it is you're using a tarp, and the tarp that I'm going to demonstrate with is not the correct one. What you want is a 6 to 11 mil plastic, or you can use leftover like vinyl banners, but the trick is they cannot let light through, and you want them to be sun resistant or UV protectant. And what you do is the plastic is really thick. It's usually white on one side, black on the other. You lay it over the ground with the black side up, and you're basically solarizing the bed. And so it becomes really moist and warm underneath the tarp, and weed seeds will sprout, but when they come up, there's no light or oxygen really, and so they die. So you're both killing the weeds that exist, you're germinating weed seeds, and then they're dying. It usually takes about 6 weeks. And so there's a lot of farmers right now that are using that as a method rather than weeding or tilling. And a lot of people are using that as a no-till method. So we're going to demonstrate with a tarp, but it is not the correct tarp. I folded mine in half, and I am just going to do a little test plot and see how it goes. So again, we take some compost and sprinkle it over our weeds. You could do this after the occultation too, but I feel like it will help now. And so I would do this down the whole bed, And then I'm gonna grab the tarp. The reason a regular tarp doesn't work as well is because, again, it's like a woven poly and it is still letting like some light and air through. So that's why you want the plastic sheet. But I'm gonna test this out by just folding it in half. And then basically you could take rocks or sandbags, or these are landscaping fabric, and you would just push it through. Or probably better, if I don't want to rip or cut my plastic, is to just use some rocks to hold this down. And in 6 weeks I'll pull this back and hopefully all those weeds will be dead. This is kind of what the field looked like, and then we had put down a bunch of cardboard and straw, and we just are pulled up the cardboard and straw. You can kind of see most of the weeds are dead. Now this will be super easy to fork over. We found that the tarp did the best job. This is the tarp. So better die off, better browning of all the stuff. Some of the gophers started turning the soil for us. And we'll go over to the garden. I'll show you what doing this has done for the garden that we did in fall. So this was grass all the way up to here, and I basically laid down compost and cardboard and straw. And you can see now there's almost no sign of the cardboard. A little bit right here, little pieces is what's left in some of these areas. But up here where there was cardboard, it's totally gone. So that's what sheet mulching will do. You can see that even though the cardboard disintegrated, there's a couple spots where some grass came through, but it worked pretty well. And I did some fall plantings of strawberries and blueberries. So that extended all the way down to here. In the front right here, these two beds, right now they were just covered with some compost. And I'm gonna do very similar. They got compost and powdered fertilizer about a week or 2 ago. And so now, sometime this weekend, I'll come through and I'll mix all of that in and rake it out, kind of like I showed you guys. And I'll bring you to the back of the bed and kind of show you how it looks for some of the beds that we already did. But I will mix all that stuff in and get this all flattened out to look like this. So here's a bed from a couple weeks ago that we pulled the weeds, we added compost and fertilizer, forked it, we raked it out, let it sit for a week, and then we planted out these herbs and then planted our spring greens. And peas are really hardy, cold hardy, but just wanted to show you guys, this is called row cover or fleece cover or remay. Agrabah has lots of names. It comes in different thicknesses, and the different thicknesses let a certain amount of light through and also have more or less frost protection. This one is a 19, I believe, and I think it protects up to 28 degrees, which we rarely get here. But if we were gonna get a cold, frosty night, what I could do is just kind of come out and lay this over my lettuce. If you want, you can use metal hoops that you just make out of fencing wire to hold it up, and put some rocks on it to hold it from the wind. And that would be enough to protect my lettuce on a cold spring night. You don't necessarily need this. You could use an old sheet as well if it was just for the night, just to protect it from that frost, as long as you took it off in the morning so it was getting light and air.